Good evening. We're in Studio 6B, and it's Monday, May 26, 2025, Memorial Day, and it's our pleasure and honor to be speaking with a true World War II infantry combat veteran from World War II. How you doing, Mr. Jeckovich?
Very good, thank you.
You're looking well.
Yep.
I like your new red sweater you have on.
Yeah.
I heard you had a special guest today.
Oh yeah?
Haley and her girlfriend came to visit you.
Yeah.
That was nice. They're very nice girls, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I know they enjoyed your company also.
And she didn't stay very long.
Yeah, young girls are always on the go.
Yeah.
An hour is a long time for these young girls. They're full of energy and are on the go, right? Full of energy and on the go. They're great girls. Haley, 20 years old, a great granddaughter, and happy to see you on Memorial Day. Yeah, Memorial Day, another one rolls around the corner. Memorial Day is the federal holiday where the banks and all the post offices and everything are closed today. And it's always observed on the last Monday of May. It is a time to remember and honor military personnel who died in the service to the country. Especially for World War II veterans like Mr. Jeckovich, it's a solemn occasion to remember those who perished in combat and the sacrifices made to secure freedom. It's a day of reflection, visiting cemeteries if you're able, and memorials if you're able, and remembering the lives lost. One person comes to mind is Donald Lape.
Yeah.
He gave, as a teenage boy during World War II, he gave up his life fighting for his country. Donald Lape was a good boy. He wasn't street smart though.
No.
You were street smart in World War II.
Yeah.
You're both in a foxhole under heavy fire. You two are operating heavy machine guns with a lot of ammo bearers. And you kept on telling them, stay low.
Stay down.
And what did he do?
Yeah.
What did Donald Lape do? What did Donald Lape do?
He said getting up, popping up all the time.
Oh, you popped his head up all the time.
Yeah.
And how did it turn out?
He lost his head.
Didn't turn out good. Donald Lape was a fine young soldier, 18, 19, and Mr. Jeckovich told him, if not once, 100 times, lay low. Lay low. And you can't blame him. He's just looking up to see if they're coming close to the foxhole or what's going on. And he got hit by a dirty bomb. And that dirty bomb is like what? What's a dirty bomb?
Oh, it's got screwdrivers and razor blades, all kinds of stuff inside.
The Nazis make these dirty bombs, and they put in things that could do the most damage to these young GIs. They put in like screwdrivers, wrenches.
Acid.
What's that?
Acid.
Acid, razor blades, anything that'll blow up in a great distance, and when it hits you, you're in trouble. Well, it was a direct hit on Donald Lape. His head came off, and he had left only his eyeglasses hanging from one ear. Mr. Jeckovich removed them, took one of his dog tag numbers, and sent the best letter he knew how to write to his Donald Lape's mother and father. He didn't have a chance. I mean, the boy wasn't even 18, 19 years old. He didn't have a chance to live his life. The damn Nazis took it. That same dirty bomb hit Mr. Jeckovich too, but did hit him in the head, him in the legs. They took out most of the shrapnel, but he's still, to this date, Mr. Jeckovich has got shrapnel in your legs right now. What happens when you go into the airport? What do you have to do?
I'd give him a slip.
Say you have shrapnel?
Yeah, that's what's caused
Because all the metal detectors will go off.
Yeah.
So that's who we're thinking about, and the many other thousand of fighters that died with Mr. Jeckovich during one of the bloodiest battles in Bastogne. Bastogne they got caught unexpectedly. No one thought the Nazis would come through the Ardennes forest. Cold-ass winter, coldest winter on record, and the trees on the Ardennes forest are very close. So the Americans didn't think there is no way the Nazis are going to make movement with these 6,000 tanks to Bastogne, because the trees are so close together. It's so populated of a forest with trees and brush, cold weather, and very hard terrain to run through. The Nazis did, though, and Mr. Jeckovich, during his last battle, Battle of the Bulge, he was caught in Bastogne with many of his other young fighting soldiers, and his orders were to keep Bastogne. Don't let the Nazis get a foothold in Bastogne. Don't let the Nazis get a foothold in Bastogne. But they were out there by themselves because the weather was so bad for 3 or 4 days that they couldn't get any air support. Paratroopers couldn't drop, supplies couldn't drop, air support shooting the Nazis, bombing shooting the Nazis. It was just a horrible situation. They couldn't move. They couldn't. They were just stuck. But they knew not to. They knew not to give up on Bastogne. Patton was in charge at the time, General Patton, and he didn't know what to do. So he reverted to God, and he asked the military chaplain, to write a beautiful prayer to let these skies clear so we could start fighting again. And he had, this is a postcard size prayer, and Mr. Jeckovich received one, so did 250,000 other fighters. He had printed 250,000 postcard size prayers.
Do you remember where you read yours at?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Huh?
When you read yours, where were you?
I was in Bastogne.
Yeah. And here's what the prayer said. This is the actual copy of the prayer, praying to God for the skies to clear up so they can start fighting again. So the prayer basically is this. Prayer from General Patton. Almighty and most merciful Father, we humbly beseech Thee of all Thy great goodness to restrain these immoderate rains with which we had to contend. Grant us fair weather for battle. Grant us fair weather for battle. That's all they're looking for. They weren't praying to win the battle. They're just granting us fair weather for battle. Graciously hearken to us as soldiers who call upon Thee, that armed with Thy power we may advance from victory to victory and crush the opposition, oppression, and wickedness of our enemies, and establish Thy justice among men and nations. Amen. So we had 250,000 of these postcard prayers written, and miraculously, on the third and fourth day, the skies cleared.
Yeah.
Now you got air support, you got paratroopers pulling in. And on that third and fourth day in December, that happened to be General Patton's birthday.
Yeah.
On the birthday, his skies cleared, and he said, on my birthday, it could not be a better day to kill some goddamn Germans. And that was his birthday wish. But unfortunately, after the skies cleared, 3 or 4 days, Mr. Jeckovich's division had a 97% casualty. 97% casualty. Almost all were gone. But they held Bastogne, and when the troops came in and the air support came in, they did a beautiful thing. They were able to push the Germans back, destroy many of their tanks as their tanks ran out of fuel. See, the Nazis thought they were going to steal the fuel from the American soldiers.
Yeah, they were after it too.
But they didn't get it.
No, they didn't get it, no.
Thousands of paratroopers came from the sky. Supplies came from the sky. Don't forget, the Battle of Bulge was Hitler's last-ditch effort. He was completely psychotic at this point to damage, hurt, kill Americans, and damage more property. A week later, Hitler committed suicide. And then the war in the European theater gradually died down. Mr. Jeckovich and all his infantry soldiers were thanking God they survived this bloody war, the bloodiest of all wars in the European theater. And now you're worried about, they're going to ship you to the Pacific.
Yeah.
They figured, we got some good fighting men, let's ship them to the Pacific.
Yeah, send them to the Pacific.
Did they ship you to the Pacific?
No. Just let it out.
There was one soldier, they couldn't wait. Patton could say, this European theater, we kicked their ass, we're done with it, now we need to go fight. So he wanted to get to the Pacific to fight again. But he got into a very strange automobile, a civilian automobile accident, and killed him. Eventually killed him. But we see the movie rolls and the live footage of Patton during World War II. He looks like a 70 or 80-year-old man, but he was only in his 50s.
Yeah, with harsher war.
He went through World War I and now World War II.
Yeah.
He looked very old, worn out. War was taking its toll. But this is getting back to the story of the Battle of Bulge and Bastogne. In the beginning, when all these teenagers were drafted into World War II infantry, they were affectionately called the Diaper Division. It wasn't a derogatory term, but why'd they call you that?
They were 33s.
33 is a code for teenagers.
Yeah.
And they were affectionately calling you that. They weren't being a derogatory term. The Diaper Division. But things changed. After Bastogne, they were no longer called the Diaper Division.
Yeah.
Now their new name is the Bloody Bastards of Bastogne. That was their new title. The Bloody Bastards of Bastogne. And it was a bad war. It was one of the worst in European theater. So during that time, Mr. Jeckovich was shot in the shoulder. He was beat up. He was stabbed.
Lost a hip.
Lost a hip. He was bombed. Shrapnel in his body still, mostly his leg. Trench foot and frostbite. Trench foot and frostbite.
I still got that right now.
That frostbite, 80 some years later, still bothers you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But by the time Mr. Jeckovich left the war, World War II, he received from the United States Army the Bronze Star Medal, the Purple Heart Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, American Campaign Medal, European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal, with 3 Bronze Service Stars. He also received the World War II Victory Medal, Army of Occupational Medal with Germany clasp. He further received the Combat Infantry Badge, the Sharpshooter Badge with carbine, pistol, and machine gun bars, the Marksman Badge with rifle bar, and the Honorable Service Lapel Button from World War II. So he left heavily decorated, mostly as a result of the Battle of the Bulge. But it's an interesting fact, we pulled up your records when you were drafted. I'm looking at your draft record right now. You were 187 pounds. How much you weigh now?
151.
You have a lot of catching up to do. You're too light. You're too light. You went in there at 187 and now you're 150.
Yeah.
You got to catch up. On the side note, if you put your 2 uniforms on now, they'll fit loosely, which is nice.
Yeah.
Many people, the older they get, the heavier they get, and they couldn't fit in a uniform, but you could. You could. It says here, when you were drafted, you were living at 3063 Orleans Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York.
Nice city then.
So tell us about the city. Tell us about the
It's a
street.
beautiful city.
Yeah?
Couple houses on the one street.
14.
The street wasn't paved.
Nice people.
Big fairway ahead of you. You could see the stadium from your porch.
Yeah. And mostly it was from Polish and Italian immigrants.
Yeah.
Some Greek. But it's amazing, when the immigrants would come in, they'd seem to always go to Buffalo or Niagara Falls over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And these immigrants came in legally through Ellis Island, and they came to work, and they came to support their family, to do better, and they came to give back to the United States for giving them the privilege.
Back to fight too.
What?
They had to come back to fight.
Yeah, and fight, and they went to service. And they came here to give. Not like many of these illegal immigrants today. They come here to work the system, not like your father did. By the way, Mr. Jeckovich's father came from Russia. He came in legally through Ellis Island. He ended up in Niagara Falls, New York. And he worked his ass off with 3 jobs. 3 jobs, 7 days a week. There was no breaks. He was trying to give his family a better life. He was trying to give this man a better life. He was trying to save a down payment on the house. And he did. He did save a down payment.
I paid Belden every month.
How much? $47.
Yeah.
And he put it down, Mr. Jeckovich's father put the down payment on the house at 3063 Orleans Avenue. And Mr. Jeckovich's father did. And Mr. Jeckovich brought the payment to Belvin, which was the realtor and the man that held the mortgage on it, of $47 a month.
Yeah.
Each and every month.
Yeah.
No one used checks then. It was all cash, right?
Yeah.
Real simple. So, Mr. Jeckovich's father, his name was Marion Jeckovich, and he worked so hard that on his 43rd birthday almost, he died of a massive heart attack working cement. Doing cement's a hard job, a very hard job. And you were just a boy, and at that point there you start taking full-time care of your mother. And that's where the book you written comes in. They're mother's sons. Because you took care of your mother from 11 years old to her demise at 89.
Yeah.
That's where the book was written and the ideas came from. How many pages was that book?
849.
Wow. And I'm sure you didn't use Google, or I'm sure you didn't use a computer.
All white, all yellow paper.
You used legal tablets and you wrote all by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had to print it up though.
Well, of course, but you did everything by hand. That's a lot of writing. Holy shit. Okay, now we're getting back to your father. You don't have an accent. How come?
Well, we talk English at home. But my father said, "You're not talking Russian, you're not talking Polish, you're talking English. You're in the United States now."
So your father had a strict rule. At home, we don't speak Polish. At home, we don't speak Russian. We only speak English.
Yeah.
And that's why you don't have an accent.
No.
How about some of the Polish people on your street?
Oh, what's his name? Next door had a Polish accent.
Like what do they sound like?
Oh, it sounded like a Polak.
Like what? How does a Polak sound?
Yeah, it started his words, had big accents.
Yeah. But you didn't have any accent.
Yeah. Well, they talk Polish at home.
Yeah. But you never did. So his father died at 43 mixing cement, trying to give his family a better life. And then that night he died, the police came to you, and you're 11 or 12 years old, and they said, "Hey, get in the cop car." And then what happened next?
Well, took me to the hospital, said your father got hurt.
They said your father got hurt.
Yeah.
And they dropped you off at the front door of the hospital.
I went to the hospital, I asked the nurse where was my father. She said, "I'll take you down there."
Now, a lot of red flags went off.
Yeah,
You thought your father might have twisted his ankle or
yeah. I
sprained
thought
his
he
arm.
broke his ankle or something. Yeah.
You thought you're going up in the
We
hospital.
went down
And where'd you go?
to the morgue.
Yeah. Yeah. And tell us what you see. Describe.
I saw my father laying on a slab. He had a little cement on his face. Someone said cement on his pants.
They asked you to identify the body.
Yeah, and the nurse said, well, "Is that your father?" I said, "Yes." He says, "Will you go through his pockets?"
So they made an 11-year-old boy go through his pockets.
Yeah.
And what did you find in your father's
Can of
pocket?
Prince Albert tobacco and those little papers that they roll it up with,
What else?
and keys to the house,
What else?
and a couple quarters and a nickel. And
That was it.
Yeah.
Was your father's eyes closed?
Yeah, his eyes were closed, yeah.
Wow. And there's where the beginning of the book started. 11-year-old boy taken by the police to the hospital to identify his 43-year-old father. Took his sole belongings home, a few quarters and pennies in his pocket, Prince Albert, tobacco, rolling papers, and the house keys, and that was it.
Yeah.
That was the end of the story. That was the end of the story. And I'm looking at some more of your documents that we acquired from the United States government. You know, a lot of your documents were burned in that fire in Ohio.
Yeah.
You knew that, right?
Records
Yeah,
are
records
shot,
were
yeah.
burned. But we acquired some, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want to point out a very interesting part. A very interesting part. Now the war's over. You've been shot up, and we know all the damage you went through on your body, and the bullets, and the frostbite, and the trench foot, losing a hip, bullet in your shoulder, shrapnel in your body, and all the destruction you've seen. But this is the end of the story. At the end of the war, you had to go to these camps. And what were the camps named after?
Oh, Lucky Strike, Chesterfield, Pall Mall.
All the camps were named after different cigarette companies.
Yeah.
And when you were in the service, the Red Cross passed out cigarettes
Yeah.
like candy bars, right?
Yeah.
Here's a pack, here's a pack. Packed cigarettes everywhere.
Yeah.
Did you smoke?
No, I gave them my buddies that were next to me.
So out of boredom, these teenage boys start smoking. What the hell else would they do? They figured they weren't going to be around long anyways.
Yeah.
So if they didn't get killed during World War II, 20 or 30 years later, they got killed by lung cancer. They sure did. But here's the interesting part. There's a lot of things I can read on your separation papers. But after you went through all that hell and all that fighting and all that blood and all that violence, and after you released and broke the chains in the Holocaust camps and released the prisoners of war, after you did all that, in Uncle Sam's opinion, this is what you're entitled to. It's called mustering out pay.
Yeah.
This is the money that you're given to start your new life,
Yeah.
to start your new civilian life in the United States. And right here is a matter of record that Uncle Sam, for all the hell you've been put through, Uncle Sam wanted to be very generous, and he gave you a total of $300
Yeah.
to start your life again. And he didn't give it to you all at once. He gave you $100 a month for 3 months to rebuild your life.
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. Do all this, you leave with $300. Wow. That's really amazing. Was that enough money to get started again?
Yeah.
Was it or no?
Right.
Was $300 enough money to get started? in your new life?
Yeah. I don't know what I did with $300.
It went fast, right?
Yeah.
For all the years that you were in combat, you didn't keep any money. You gave it to your mom, right?
Yeah. I sent
You
that
sent
in.
every penny home to your mother,
I
right?
had 150 emails and salaries through a month.
Yeah. 150 V-mails. Many people get confused with emails. There was no such thing as emails or computers or phones back then. These were called V-mails. V-mails. And they would come through the Western Union.
Yeah.
And you would write a beautiful letter to your mother, but your mother didn't get the whole letter. What'd she get?
Well, they listened to it and they
Censored it.
Put a lot of black spots on it. Yeah.
Censored it, right?
Yeah.
So you write these beautiful letters to your mother, and when your mother finally got the V-mail, hand-delivered by Western Union, every sentence was blacked out.
Every other sentence, yeah.
You had to pick up the words because they were censoring all the soldiers' mail because they didn't know who they're writing to or who was writing the letter, so they wanted to be sure no secrets were being sent home. And you wrote 150 V-mails. I wish I could find those. Where did they go?
Who knows? Who knows where they went?
I'd love to read those. Where did your 2 uniforms go?
I don't know. They were hanging in the closet last I know of it.
I recovered one of the Western Union statements. This is just one of the statements from Western Union. And this statement was sent to your mother. It says, Dear Mrs., no, it says not dear. It says, Miss Anna Jeckovich, 3063 Orleans Avenue. The government's kind of sugarcoating this, but here's what they said.
On an email, telegram.
Western Union.
Yeah.
It said, I regret to inform you, your son, Private First Class John J. Jeckovich, was slightly wounded in action on the 15th of December. January, you're right, I'm sorry. In Belgium, that was Pistow. And mailing address following, direct from the hospital, the details. Adjunct General J.A. Lulio. So they're telling him, they sugarcoat everything, that you were slightly injured. You were in a hospital in Paris for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And then, interesting way the government, the military looked at soldiers back then. You went through all that hell, 3 or 4 months recovering, but if your index finger was able to pull the machine gun,
Fit for duty.
and you were able to walk, you were considered fit for duty.
Yeah.
Your ass is going back in.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. They sent you back in.
Yeah.
Wow. Fit for duty.
And a lot of people didn't get in.
No?
They didn't get in the service at all. They wheedled out of it.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. You didn't enlist.
No.
Why didn't you not enlist?
Well, I take care of my mother. My father was dead, and my mother was alone.
There it is. His mother
I
was
wanted to
lonely.
stay with her as long as I could.
His mother was lonely, and if he waited to get drafted, he'd be able to spend more time home with his mother. But once you get drafted, you're going to go to the front lines. You're going to be in combat. However, your 2 brothers enlisted, and one never left the United States. He stayed in New York teaching people how to drive a Jeep by enlisting. But you gave all that up. You waited till you got drafted, and you got right on the front line from day one.
Well.
Now, your brother that enlisted got a real cushy job. He was teaching young cadets how to drive Jeeps.
Yeah.
Was he some type of expert Jeep instructor?
No, he hit a fire hydrant.
He had a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
And so that was his qualifications to teach young people to drive a Jeep. Did he ever see military action?
No, never went overseas.
Never went overseas.
I was the only one that went overseas.
Because you waited to get drafted, so you spent more time to take care of your mother.
Yeah.
And he missed D-Day though, which was good.
Minutes.
30 seconds.
That's an amazing story.
You're going to put the cadets on?
Wait, you got 30 more seconds. That's an amazing story, Mr. Jeckovich. Amazing story. And now you wonder why they call this generation the greatest generation of all time. It's true.
Yes.
The greatest generation of all time. Right here, look in the mirror, text them any questions at 407-366-0000. 407-366-0.